Okay. Good morning. Today we are here for discuss this unit. Also the part of remaining part of the unit number 1 and block 1. Introductory class we have also conducted previous Friday. So today let's go with the corporate compensation policies. Like for the MBA student as well as for the students of the management, there are some specific policies are applied in the corporate industries. So this is the part of the corporate compensation policy. The compensation policy of a corporation or an industrial organization needs to consider broadly three aspects. Basically, the community concern, the economic and the social, then company on objectives and plans. Expansion and diversification. Diversification is the specific policies where we have used or diverted from one specific segment to the another specific segment. Then this specific thing is comes under the diversification. And the employees concerned, these are the part of the compensation policies as well as the base policies, which is the part of the Wages Act. A corporate compensation policy and the community concern, corporate compensation policy should not be convinced in the isolation from the community goals and environment. In the current context, the price, the stability, improving the standards of the living of the workers, generating more employment and meeting the demands of the competitiveness will need to receive the prior attention in the formulation of the corporate compensation policy. For the part of view, the formulation, we are consider the rules and regulations also, which is given by the government time to time to prepare or formulate a base policy for the employees in the organization. This will imply the basis, what are the rates must go up with these should be non-inflammatory. Then this will imply that wage rate must go up, but these should be non-inflammatory. This can be happen when the bulk of the wages increases are linked to cost reduction or gain in the productivity. It is very important, a significant point for the productivity. The basis output relationship is optimized or at least stabilized with the basis and the cost control providing and the add to the organization. Employees are motivated to give the higher performance by operationalizing, among the other things, the concept of the merit, pay, and the performance link the reward system. The reward system is also the part of the policies here. Next, we can say from the specific slide here, strategies of wage increases. How the wage must be increased? The corporate compensation policy and community concerns. We can see strategy of wages. Formulation and introduction of productivity on reduction plan should be considered as the strategy of securing wage increase for the employees. Only in this manner, a part of the increase in the compensation could be financed out of the realized improvement in the productivity or the cost reductions is applicable here. Productivity bargaining can be considered as an alternative here. Two type of the bargaining basically used in case of the compensation policies or in the base policies. Win-win bargaining is the part, and win and lose bargaining is the part when we are considering or formulating a specific policies for their employees who are working in the specific organization. Sometimes the policies also depend upon the structure, size, policies, and organizational culture also which type of the policy is applicable and significant also when we are preparing a specific wage policy for an organization. This will involve, you can say here also, this will involve the identification of areas of cost reduction and the determination of a link between the offer of the economic consensus and the saving in its cost. Saving is also the important part, which type of the saving is required in the basis policy. This exercise would be demand intensive management, communication with the unions. Union is also a very significant part, plays, or maybe intervention is there in case of the wages policies which are applicable or formulated by the HRs applied organization. So trade unions are the very significant in this specific formulation. Workers and different level of the management to be able to arrive at the mutually beneficial situations is there, which I have also told in the previous slide. There are the two type of the bargain we have considered, that are the win-win type of the bargaining are there, as well as the win-lose type of the bargaining, also the specific part of the wage policies when we are considering all the humanistic approach as well as also the economic approaches we are applied to form or to formulate the wages policies here. Then we can say in this slide also rationality. What is the real meaning of the rationality? Which is justified, which is rational. Then this specifically, yes, this is justified. What type of the perks you are deciding, what type of the policies you are formulating, it is depend upon the rationality. Is it is possible for the organization? It is also for the benefit of the employees. So rationality and the hygiene factors must be considered is in type of the any basis policies when we are formulating in order to achieve the company objective and avoid the dissatisfaction. This is the very important part. Avoid the dissatisfaction, because satisfaction and dissatisfaction sometimes correlated with the basis policies also. So it must be considered when the employees are working in your specific organization, what type of the policies, fringe benefits, and other benefits, as well as the medical facilities you are providing for the specific persons or the employee in your organization is satisfied or she is satisfied or dissatisfied, depend upon the rationality or the rational policy which are from the HR managers in the organization. It is desirable to ensure the rationality of pay packet. Then internal equity should be the part, and the external equity also the part. Rationality of the pay packet should imply among the other thing also, right? The bulk of remuneration, what type of the amount we are giving to the employees, it is also the part of the remuneration to the job and its outcomes also, you can see here. Wage policy is predominant element in the pay packet and the basket of the fringe benefits. Fringe benefits we have already discussed. Other benefits are known as the fringe benefits, which are other than the we can say the incentives, like we are providing the drivers, like we are providing some specific advantages. Okay, so these are the fringe benefits provided by the companies time to time for their employees. It is determined by the employee's need. These two factors are considered. One is the need and one is the wants. There is clearly indicated two types of the thing must be considered. What are the needs of the employee and what are the wants of the employees which are working in the specific organization is the part of the wants and needs. Needs are primary in nature. In HR practices, when we are formulating the policies, it is considered that the needs are primary and wants are the part of the secondary level. So there must be also considered the needs and what, but needs are more important. Needs are very essential for the employee. So need must be considered and form the policies according to the needs of the employees which are working in a specific organization here. Next, we can say the internal equity. Equity is very, very important part in the any basis. Like the internal equity implies that the wage differentiation or differentials are the structured in such a way that they correspond to the relatively differences in the job contents. It must be again. The absence of such structure differentials can be responsible for the employees' dissatisfactions, grievances. So, to handle the grievance, all the organization, most of the organization, we can say, not all the grievance handling cells are formed, and a grievance redressal and grievance handling cell is there which are working upon the grievance handling. So this is also the part of the internal equity. Industrial strike, agnations, demotivations, job evaluations, how we are evaluating the job of an employee, find out the performance of an employee, generally used to ensure the internal equity. Job evaluation is the part. What type of the grievances are there? Satisfaction and dissatisfactions. What type of the dissatisfaction factors are working there? So these are must be the part of the internal equity when considering or discussing about the wages policies in any organization here. Clearly indicated in the slide, the external equity also need to be given due to the importance in the compensation policies of an organization. It not only ensures retaining talent, but also help in attracting the suitable skilled manpower. Skilled manpower is desired which are required to fulfill the task or fulfill the objectives of an organization. There is some prerequisite is required. So this is also the part of the criteria or eligibility, which type of the eligibility or criteria is required to fulfill the goals or the objective of an organization. So it is depend upon the suitable skill of the mm, employees here. In the dynamic competitive scenario, external equity will require the base rates for jobs are equitable with the rate of the similar jobs in the same industry also, or similar firms in the same specific region are considered under the part of the external equity in any wage policies. It can be affect seriously an employee's ability to recruit the right kind of the workers, besides being the responsible for flight or personals and the industrial stripes and employee demotivation factors is there, and demoralization is also the part. It is usually ensured by using the results of a wage and the salaries also, wages and salaries. Lack of it can result in demoralization. If there is a lacking in the wages, then there is a lacking in the salary after the survey. So if this is not the justified or we can say the rational, then if this is not rational, then it may be a cause of the demoralization of an employee. So it will directly impact upon the productivity of an organization. So the demoralization of employees and the high rate of the labor turnover. So turnover, if they are leaving the organization, switching the companies from one company to another companies. So this is the part of the demoralization, and sometimes it is happened the organizations also due to the bad policy formed by the HR manager. Sometimes they are not surveyed about the salary, wages, what are the scenarios going on. So there may be the chances of the turnover of the labor as well as for the employees which are working in the STEM organization here. So it must be considered. It must be stopped by the survey what type of the perk, what type of the wages, what type of the salaries are the part in the industry to stop or to check the demoralization stage of an employee. It can also be the cause of the dissatisfaction, conflicts arises in the industry time to time, and the agitation amongst the employee is the part. This is clearly indicated here. So it is very important part to stop or check the turnovers of the employees during the, if they are working in your organization. So we can say payroll analysis and policy correctiveness we can apply here. Continuous analysis. It's not for the one day work. Continuous analysis is required by the managers, by the policymakers also. Analysis of payrolls, wages, and watching out the economic trends is the need of a smart organization. This should be also be supplemented with the projection of wages and the cost trend and monitoring the unintended disparities based on the policy measures the reduce disparities and preventing their recurrences should be formulated and implemented, taking all stakeholders on the board. So there is the need, very important point for the analysis and policy correctiveness, which is required time to time by the HR managers, by the policymakers for the organizations are there. Then wages, salaries, administration function. Wages, salary, and administration function is there. So the function of achieving an optimal wage and the salary programs is an evaluatory process. Unless the program is kept current and is maintained, then continuously disparities and the irrationalities, which are not rational, is known as the irrationalities, are likely to be creep in over the time. More positively, a base and the salary program should be viewed as an aid to achieve the corporate objectives. This is possible through building a specialized wage and the salary administration functions in an organization. So wages and salary administration is a very, very important, significant function when we are considering, when we are thinking about the wage policies, we are doing the survey, we are checking the demoralization, we are checking or stopping about the turnovers of an employee in an organization. So wages and salary administration function is very, very significant, and it is applicable to all the wage policies when we are considering and we are working for an corporate, just corporate compensation structure. It is a very wide terminology, corporate. Hence, the organization need to develop a single integrated compensation plan for the hierarchical labels when there is some specific structure is designed, reporting is defined, and a label is defined, then this is the part of the hierarchical labels are there. It includes the supervisory and managerial, where we have the supervisors and we have the manager in the long term. And it should be the part of a systematic analysis of the whole organization, classification, compensations, quite often how a workers' wage and workers' salary system is treated distinctively from managerial remunerations, or you can say the wages system is applied. Then, though the latter cannot be viewed in the isolation is the stage where the employee or the system is not attached with another system or another process is the isolation stage. There are the distinctive features about it which are studied previously also, and now this is the part of the HR practices here we can say. First, the element of the managerial remuneration. Very important part is this. Managerial remunerations are not identical with those of the wages. Tax consideration have led to the introduction of the perks such as allowances for the repair, maintenance, entertainments, club allowances are the part nowadays. Rent subsidy we are providing, medical facilities. Nowadays, the medical facilities provided near about by all the organizations to their employee for the benefit of their health. This is the part of the medical facilities. Applicable, I think, everywhere. They are the corporate or group bimas are there, as well as the insurance are there. So these are the part of the medical facilities which are provided during also at the time of the interview. Also, the employee asking what are their medical facilities, what are the coverage, how much is the coverage applicable here. So this is the part with when and this is the part of also the negotiation sometimes. What type of the coverage is there, so medical facilities provided time to time, as well as the rent subsidy also provided by the organization for the sake of for the welfare of the employees here. Superannuations benefits, leave, travel allowances, which is also known as the TA. Sometimes you hear the word TADA. So TA is the traveling allowances provided by the company according to the sometimes the kilometers. Also, this is the depend upon the company how much TA is allowed for the specific work or for the traveling of the specific persons or sometimes sale persons also. Different structures are given on a more liberal basis. Liberal basis, they are considering that what type of the allowances are required for the employees time to time. Over a time, an incentive bonus which it constitutes the bulk of the workers' remunerations are rarely admitted to the managers. So this is the part of our wages and work policies. What are the salaries are there also be considered here. Next, second important part is there. You can see from this specific, I think so. Second, managerial salaries are sometimes capped also. This is the capping is there. This is the specific benefits are there. So capping sometimes provide happen in some specific organizations. Third, in the practice, non-monetary benefits are available. Benefit, actually, two types of the benefits are there. Monetary benefits are there and non-monetary benefits also provided. Like more significantly to managers than the workers, they are providing the facilities. These for the intents are the perk and facilities, and this the nature of the jobs and the opportunities for the growth and promotions are there. In the context of these realities, it is necessary to consider the comprehensively different facets of managerial remunerations and also examine the disabilities and viability adopting a comprehensive system approach to the remuneration. Desirability means which is desirable, which is required, which is the part of the prerequisites. So we are saying here this is the part of the desirability, what type of the approach we are applying during the employees as well as for the applications in the policies or when we are formulating any specific policies. Then managerial compensation. Managers are there. What are the post of the manager are there? What are the specific consideration we are considering? So managerial compensation is very important. This is also the part of the policies. So compensation packages for the manager in the critical or for the organization as managers make the vital contribution to the organization. Because managerial post is very crucial post. Targets sometimes are there. They are appointed to fulfill the goals of the organization, fulfill the objectives, as well as they have also been upon to contribute their efforts to fulfill the all the objectives and complete the visions of an organization is also the part of a manager. So managerial compensation must be considered. What type of the compensation is required must be considered at the time of the making or formulating the policies. But how do regulatory measures are there? Regulations sometimes there, such as the punitive rate of taxations are there. They affect their motivation level sometimes and the performance of a manager. Do this violating the sense of equity sometimes. Again, the tempering of effect of the dearness DA, which is known as the DA, result in the shrinking of the salary differentiations is the result. Now, the narrowing salary differentiations adversely affect the motivation and performance of the managers sometimes. Also, the salary differentials, if there is the difference, do exist among the managers across the various sectors. Because the salaries also depend upon the growth in the industry. Sometimes there is the growth in the pharmaceutical industry. Sometimes there is the growth, we can say, in the information technology IT industry. Sometimes there is the growth in the education industry. So growth as well as the future of the industry also must be considered when we are preparing any type of the policy or formulating any type of the policies here. Salary differentiation do exist among the managers across sectors, depend upon the sectors also, industry also. The salary rates for the similar level of the worker are known to be higher in the private sector. This is the here. The salary rate of the similar level of the work are known to be higher sometimes in the private sector as compared to the another sector. It's dependent. It need to be seen as to how much the non-monetary items such as the career perspectives are there. What are the authorities and powers you are providing to the managers? What are the responsibilities are there? Which are the responsibility will be fulfilled or is the part of their job description, which is known as the GD, is also the consideration. Job security, very important point is nowadays. What the job security? When an employee come and give an interview, then he must ask the what are the parameters are there, what are the policies are there, and what is the level of the security of their jobs. Decision making process, how they are making the decisions here. So more two or three points are very important in this slide. Like the careers prospects are what type of the careers should be there after in this industry. What type of the authorities are there? What are the responsibilities are there? What type of the decision making process is there? And what are the job security? Sometimes the focus some implies on the security of job also. Naturalize the effect on the motivation. We have already discussed in the previous classes. Motivation. What is the motivation? We have already discussed. It is force which stimulate or give the impetus or a driving force which is required to fulfill the goal of an organization. It is also divided into two parts: positive motivation as well as the negative motivation. But in case of the waste policies, in case of the monetary benefits, we are always using the positive motivation to increase the productivity, to check or stop the turnover of employees, to check the dissatisfaction level, demoralization level. There is the need to motivate the employees with the help of the wages or wages policies time to time. Relatively, the lower compensation of manager in public sector, sometimes it goes of the motivation or demotivation also. It must be considered. At the entry point, when a specific person is entering in the industry sometime, if the salaries are unfavorable, not justified, in the eye of the, you can say in the eye of the employee, this is not justified. Then the public sector enterprises, the obviously they won't be able to attract the very best persons or skilled persons, because if a specific person have the skill, he will ask about the good salaries. So it must be favorable for the benefit, for the sake of the productivity, for the benefit of an organization here. It is this kind of the resources which will the source of supply of the higher order managerial skills in the internal level market of the public sector enterprises also, to the extent they are not able to attack the kind of the resources. At the entry point, they won't have the right kind of the supply from the sources, internal sources in the organization. Hence, there must be the 2 or 3 points are also very, very important. Public sector important, labor market is also important, as well as the internal source of the organization also very, very important and very, very significant in this regard. Then we can say here, you can also write down here, the managers suffer from a sense of frustration sometimes. Sometimes why? Because of the lack of advancement in salary, in the career. So more than 2 or 3 factors always work together, which develop the sense of positivity, sense of negativity. Sometimes particular manager is doing well, but she become the frustrated because of lack of advancement in the salary, and sometimes they find that there is no growth in the career then only. This kind of the situation arises will adversely affect the motivation. Clearly indicated 2 types of motivation, positive, negative, and the performance, and potentially may give rise to the phenomena of unionizations is there among the managers in the public sector is there. Then further we are considering here the structure of perk is not always the functional. Often they have status orientations, in the sense they increase with the salary and the status level, and are the necessarily related to the job needs are required. And implicit assumptions is that they act as a motivator. The perk, however, need to be related to the emerging the social standards also. Nowadays, we are considering the social standards also. Say what are the salaries are there, what type of the things they are doing here. So, social standards, which is depend upon the social groups, is also considered or very significant factors nowadays. They have a positive role to play. Positivity always work good or better, we can say, for the growth of an organization. So must be considered in the basis policy. They have positively role to play. Probably they do provide a stimulus. Stimulus is a positive thing which stimulate a particular person, employee, to do the better performance. A stimulus may be good policies, handsome salaries, promotion on time, better opportunities, fringe benefits provided time to time. Then after retirement policies, health insurances, accidental claims, several points are there, several factors are there, which may work as the stimulus for the betterment of organization and for the betterment of employees also. Two-way benefit. But the nature, the form, and the mixes of these prerequisites is predefined, which is required, which is mandatory, which is previously known, is the part of the prerequisites are there, which is required. Need to be optimal there. These might be include anti-inflammatory benefits are there, especially in the form of some benefits of retirement. I have also told after retirement policies, giving them some post-retirement income security, whatever the security you are providing to the employees working in the STEM organization time to time. Medical benefits, I've already told what are the coverage, amount of coverage. So medical benefits is applicable everywhere in the wages policy or as well as in the policy preparing by the HR managers. This is also depend upon what type of the legal points are there must be considered. When we are preparing any policies, it must be considered what are the legal points are there. After the retirement is one's area of the instance, it is also required or applicable in the policies here. So providing an incentive element in the managerial remuneration, the basis of measuring the managerial performances, which involve the complexities, can be desirable ideas. In this regard, the government of India and governments, state governments also, issue the guidelines time to time to the public sector. Guidelines of government is very important, very significant when we are formulating any specific type of the policies, wage policies especially, must be follow all the guidelines given by the government of India as well as state governments time to time must be considered at the time of formulating the policies for the benefit of employees or for the benefit of an organization. It is very, very important and significant also. Hence, in the public sector enterprises, to the effect, the 5% of the distributable profits, 5% may be distributed, can be given to the executives. Sometimes profit is distributed by the organization for the employees, for the betterment of employees, for as an incentive also. Linked to the individual performance. This is also dependent upon the what type of the performance they are providing time to time. That is also the part of the evaluation when we are evaluating what are the performances there, what are the achievements are there. So there may be a clearly incentives may be linked with the individual to individual performance. So performance must be considered. It is also the part of some appraisals also. We are sometimes forming the appraisal policies and we are providing some specific type of the forms providing, and we are sometimes we are also asking from the employee side what are the criteria should be there, what you have achieved, what is your expectation from the organization, what type of the work you have completed during the whole year, what are your achievements. So there are 360 and various type of the appraisal forms are there applicable time to time to check the performance of an employee are also considered during the specific policies under the wages and income policy. We have also discussed about the wages, about the policies, wage policies, everything. Then there also a word is very significant. This is known as the rationalization. Rationalization means the justified of the wages and income in the different sector and for the different categories of an employee can be attempted only as the part of an integrated policy on the wages, income, as well as on the prices. In the country, However, where the known wage incomes are sustainable and the efficacy of the physical measures in the limited, it is difficult to conceive, formulate, implement it. Implementation is very important. Not only the formulation, but implementation of policy is very, very important part. If policies are there and implementation is under the error or it is not implemented properly, then there may be also a lacuna will be there in the organization. Policies are there, but we are not applying. Formulation is good. Survey is good, but formulation is good. But implementation, there is the error in the implementation, or it is not implemented by the specific person, by the managers, or it is not clearly indicated or not that is instructed to the employees, then there may also a cause of the dissatisfaction. So formulation as well as the implementation, both the things are very, very important and significant in case of the wages, income, and under the price policies. When we are considering the price policy, it is clearly indicated here in this slide. You can see here. Next, to reinforce a ceiling on the income of some selected categories of employees, regulated base of workers may be difficult to enforce and may even be counterproductive also. Whereas these considerations are relatively for the top level income brackets for the determination of the minimum wages. Minimum wages act is also applicable. Minimum wages act is also applied. So whereas the considerations are relevant for the top level income brackets for the determination of the minimum wages, there is also an act which is known as the Minimum Wages Act applicable in the industry. The impact of the minimum wages on the volume and the level of the employment sympathetic and it is induced is the part is there. Then movement in the sectoral, regional, and in the national wage structure. Nationally, it is designed what type of the wages are there, what are the structures of wages are there. Cost output ratio is there. Is the cost, what are the wages we are providing here? So cost output ratio also considered, especially of the marginal units. When there are the marginal units are existing, price movements are there. Then they need to be taken into the account. One important, very, very important terminology we are using nowadays, and it is significant also, that is known as the NFLMW. I'm just repeating. NFLMW. What is the meaning? This is the National Floor Label Minimum Wages. Terminology is the N, F, L, M, and W. Okay. This is the minimum wage below which no state government, indicated no state government can fix the minimum wage. You can see time to time government circulars are there. Also in the media you can see what is the minimum wages fixed by the government for the specific sectors, for the specific criteria are there. So it is minimum wage depends upon the what type of the work or workers are doing, also the nature of the industry. So this is the minimum wage is fixed, or this is for the benefit for the society, for the benefit of an employee, for the benefit of the overall, you can say the environment, it is required. This is a known statutory measures to ensure the upward revision of the minimum wages in the different states. So state government, like the central government, state government is capable and doing very well, and they analyze about the situation of state, about the situation of the employment, about the situation of the industry. So they consider, and according to the NFLMW, they prepare a policy for the benefit of the employees and also for the benefit of the society also. So the central government introduced the NFLMW according to sources 1996. The labor code is also important because labor codes are also there. So labor code is there. On the wages passed by the Indian Parliament in the August 2019 in this regard has a provision to declare a mandatory national wage floor. This is mandatory, it is required. So mandatory national wage floor on or the minimum wage which state will have to comply with once the wage code already passed by the parliament in 2019. So it is implemented also. Committee are formed, has been set up the submit its recommendations. They are providing the recommendations out here on the minimum wages and the national floor wages to arrive at wage rate. What are the wage rate are there? And it will look into the international best practices on the wages and evolve a scientific criteria and methodology are there for the fixation of wage. Clearly indicated. There is no requirement of recap. I think so. You already understand all the points here. Just a minute, we take it. Okay, let's go. Issues and contents. This is also the part. The process of the broadbanding, the traditional narrowing structures, pay grades, generally determined through the job evaluations are replaced by fewer means weaker and wider the bands. So bands, several organizations are adopting broadbanding and an approach to base the pay. What are the payment they are willing to pay? Through this approach, the management grades acquiring the greater flexibility in setting and adjusting the pay rates, where a typical pay grade may have a 50% spread in pay between the minimum and maximum. There is some example is there. You will note down here. There is the example is there. Okay. It have to 200, 300% spread is there. So there are some specific issues are arising. Current trends are there for the wages. Okay. Applicable in the HR practices also. So this is also the example. 25 to 75,000 is there. Mathematically, we can consider it. A banded approach is considered to be more consistent with the downsize flatter organization. It also helps in breaking the structural pay barriers among the jobs and facilitates the team work and empowerment of an employee. Empowerment is important. Further, it gives to management greater flexibilities. However, the traditional cost control in the pay structure is a lot. Job pricing become more difficult. It is not easy. More difficult. It may also be more difficult to communicate to the employees. Communication is very, very important factor. which I have also discussed in the previous slide, not only the formulation of the wages policy, not only the framing the policies, but implementation of the policies, and also we instructed or also we communicate about the USPs of the policies is also must be a part of the HR practices as well as for the wages policies who are formulating the wages or minimum wages policies or perks they are decided of the fringe benefits they are decided. It is very important. So it may be also be more difficult to communicate. Communication is very important to the employees as to how their remuneration has been fixed, what are the criteria are there, what type of the practices you are applying for the benefit of the employees. So it will be a part of the work culture in the future. We can consider it. Pay for knowledge, pay for skill, and also the competence. Have the knowledge, skill, competency. So remunerations also depend upon the knowledge and skills. If you are not, if a manager is more uh, skilled, more competent, more experienced, there may be the chances of the higher perks, there will be the chances of the higher remuneration, there are the chances to achieve handsome salaries. Because the salaries also depend upon the competency, skill, qualification, and knowledge of a manager, knowledge of an employee, which type of the knowledge a particular person have. Everything depends upon this specific thing, and it is clearly indicated here. Knowledge, skill, and competency, the three words are there, get eventually translated into improved employee performance, which ultimately results in superior organization effectiveness. Pay for the knowledge has been a traditional practice in the scientific, technical, and traditional discipline. For example, like examples of traditional institutions typically pay more to a professor traditionally with a PhD degree, only have a degree and experience also, have a PhD degree and experience also, there may be the chances of the more. But nowadays, if a particular person is not PhD, but to fulfill the experiences and degree, there may be chances are nowadays also increasing. It may be also entitled for the more salary. Hence, degree, hence experience, hence competency, and skill is prerequisite for a good remuneration, for handsome salaries, for wages. So then there is the post are there, various posts are there. But for the particular post, for the like the post of journal manager, the post of the regional manager, a post of the area sales manager, a post of the sales executive, it is depend upon the prerequisites, it is depend upon the qualification, as well as nowadays in the private sector, qualification is the prerequisite, but experience is also a very significant factor. If particular person, employee, manager have the experience, there may be the chances of the good salaries from the industry. It is clearly indicated. Hence, there is for achieving the good salaries, or achieving the good wages, there is the need to increase the knowledge day by day. This is only not only the one day game. Skills and empowering ourselves and impetus yourself and increase the competency, and also gain more and more knowledge for the betterment of their economic conditions also. It is clearly indicated in this response. Okay, next, in this system, when we are considering here, in this system, employees are paid on the basis of an inventory. Which type of the inventory? Inventory of skills. Sales skills are there, teaching skills are there, communication skills are there, counseling skills are there, motivational skills are there, leadership, you are applying a good leadership style is there, how you are working, how you are delivering your knowledge, your skills you are using for the fulfillment, the objectives or the goals which are given by the organization to you is depend upon your skills, which type of the behavior you have. One word we are also using in the HR practices as well as in the, when we are discussing about these wages policies, that is known as the empathy. Empathy is very important. How we understand the nature of the another person. Is we are capable to understand? Is we are capable to understand the problems of the employees? What type of the things they are facing? What are their economic condition? If you are considering all the things are there, then there may be the chances of the better productivity or to check the employees turnover when we are providing them a suitable policy, and we are also considering their economic condition, and we are increasing their competency, skill, and education. So most of the companies sometimes providing some higher degree to their managers for the betterment or for the skill development time to time. And training is also the part of the education. If they are providing the training time to time, this training also the part to increase their skills and increase their competencies. Hence, employees are motivated to improve their knowledge as well as the skills. The other hand, the skills may not be used and the cost may get out of the control. In the typical skill-based pay plan, pay is determined on the basis of knowledge, on the basis of the skills, and the competency organized with the values of the organization. So organizational value is also very important part. Values, ethics, they all are the part of the organizational culture here. Team pay plans. Some plans are there. So various type of the plans are there. This is not only the one or two type of the plans are there. So team plans are there. This pay plan supports teamwork and their empowerment also, and they helps in improving the organizational culture as well as the achieving the business goals also. This approach is visualized a form of the compensation for the team results. Individual performance may, however, it get demotivated. At the moment, there are the few plans for the team also. When we are providing the plans for the team, the specific team is there, we are providing you this person, not the individually, but for the team. This is the organizational generally trend to adopt a package and approach which they encourage individual performance, acquisitions of skills, and the competencies and organizational effectiveness on the whole. This is clearly indicated here in the base policies, which is applicable for the team pay plan. Then documentation and communication. Communication we have also discussed, not only the forming the policies, but also the um, application is there as well as the communication is there. Communication is always the two types. Formal communication or informal communication. As well as communication is always, if it is good, two-way communication is required for the betterment of an organization as well as for the betterment or for the increasing the we can say the efficiency or the productivity. The two-way communication is prerequisite or required. The objective of the sound documentation must be proper, and the effective communication system is primarily to retention is there, and motivate the staff, motivate the employees. They can understand the basis of their compensation in relation to the others in the organization. As well as the outside, they can also have the rational expectation on what to expect should be acquired here. Higher the knowledge, higher the skills, higher the competency, and improve their performance level on the specific job is prerequisite. Several organizations tend to documentation and communicate their compensation policy to the staff. For example, one company in the policy statement mentioned that their objectives was to have the good people who should give to their best, and that has was important to the survival and the growth of the company in strengthening the competitive environment. Competition is everywhere in the market, not only nationally but on the international level. Competition is everywhere. In this statement of the policy, they stated that they wanted to be the best employer in there. So employee and employer relations is depend upon the for the mutual benefits in the society. This means that the whole range of the salaries, benefits, including the business hold and sick when compared the favorable with the other organization in their field. The policy clearly stated that they would be related to the performance and willingness to expect a more demanding role. When the vacancies occurred, the statement gave objective of the method of fixing the salary, variation in the salary, why there is the variation in the salary, labels in the same grade, performance and performance appraisals, and the other related aspects must be considered here. So it is very, very important type and related aspects are there in the base policies. Coping with the change. Change is very, very important and significant also. Every day, everywhere, there is the change. Yes, coping with the change. If you want to grow in the life. Changes is the only constant factor. Why? In the modern time or in the era of the globalization, we can say every organization inevitably faces the challenges of rapid changes. There are at least 6 or 7 sometimes major changes that can be considered. So common to almost every organization, these include 6 to 7, maybe more type of the changes and coping with the change, like rapidly expanding the technology. This is the era of the globalization, and this is the now the era of the artificial intelligence. So cope with change. First, rapidly expand, and you must be familiar with the recent technologies worldwide. Then, growing competition, everywhere competition is there. Technology, then competition, both at the national level and the international level. Two types of the level is there, national as well as the international. There is the competition and how we face the competition, how we cover the competition, not only on the basis of national, but also internationally, how we can cover. It is the part of the policy. Next, increased demand. Increased demand, always you consider for the individual and for the organization. Organizational competencies, when more than one, and capabilities, the higher the cost, expectations, decreasing the cycle time, then we are considering it, and changing the manpower and the skill requirements. Okay, so increased demand individually as well as for organizational competency, capabilities, higher customer expectation, decreasing cycle times, and changing the manpower and the skills requirement always considered when we are framing or discussing the wage policies. Next, in this point or in this slide, we are discussing in this block, organizations are formulating, means preparing, means designing compensation strategies or the policies to facilitate, to increase, and cope with these changes. For example, examples there, modern technology, so the era of the information technology and era of the artificial intelligence, which is applicable in HR practices also. Hence, not only in marketing, everywhere it is, we are utilizing artificial intelligence. Just change the nature of job and business progresses. In the light of such change, many organizations are restructuring. How? Around the teams and the processes rather than the individuals. I'm just repeating. Next, organizations are formulating compensation strategies, or you can say plans, or you can say policies to facilitate and cope with the changes. This is the main word, is cope. How we are doing, how we are adjusting to cope with the changes. And just jobs with the view to increase cost effectiveness as well as the improvement of flexibility, speed, and services. Sometimes it means that the fewer employees, but with the multiple skills and competencies are required to such organization. Thank you very much. We will meet in the next session with some specific blocks. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Namaskar.